Welcome to Upticks. I'm Jake Falcon, the founder of Falcon Wealth Advisors and your host of Upticks. Today is episode 127, Financial Planning for Retirement. Okay, welcome back to the show. I hope all of you out there are staying safe and healthy during this horrible pandemic. For today's topic, it sounds very broad, but I'm actually going to break it down into three smaller segments so that the variety of listeners and people watching my show can hopefully get something out of it. So I want to talk about financial planning for retirement, and I want to talk about people early in their careers and early in their financial planning. So people maybe in their 20s or 30s or 40s. I want to talk about people in their 50s and 60s as they get closer to actually pulling the trigger and retiring. And then I want to talk about what financial planning looks for the retiree, because yes, you may certainly need to plan for, a happy and a safe and a prosperous retirement, but the planning doesn't stop once you retire. In fact, I would argue planning actually is even more important when you do retire, and I'll tell you why here in a moment. Okay, so let's start off with, the section one, which be early planning or as you're launching your career. Okay, so if you're watching this show or if you have kids or grandkids that are just starting out in their careers, maybe they've jumped around jobs a few times and in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, I want to give you some useful ideas when you're looking at financial planning. The most important thing for a young person in financial planning for their retirement when they're young and early is to start saving as soon. And I almost said as soon as possible, but that shouldn't even be a question. Start saving soon. And the reason is compound interest is on your side when you're young. When you're older and saving, compound interest is actually not as beneficial. So the longer time you have money earning you a return, it's a snowball effect. It compounds, it gets bigger. And so even if you can only afford to save a little bit, I can assure you that that is going to compound over time potentially and actually turn into a lot more than delaying retirement. Okay, so that's number one. So even if you're young in your 20s and 30s or 40s, if you don't take anything from this, Jake said, start saving early. Okay. Now, a lot of people in their 20s and 30s, unfortunately, don't have a financial advisor. And the problem in the industry is that most financial advisors are compensated on the amount of money you have to invest, right? So you have $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, whatever. And, typically advisors charge an asset under management fee, because we're going to manage those assets and we're going to do financial planning and tax planning for that person. And so that's where the compensation, that's the money that helps pay the compensation. So sadly, Wall Street very often will ignore the younger person. Even though you make good money and you have financial planning needs, a lot of times advisors ignore those people. And I'm here to say that, at Falcon Wealth Advisors, Corey and I specifically are chartered retirement planning counselors. That doesn't mean we only work with people in their 50s and 60s. Absolutely. Is that where most of our clients fall? Of course, absolutely. Because that's where, and I'll get to that in a moment, that's where a lot of the financial planning is very critical. But I'm here to assure you that we do have another advisor on our team, James Lewis, who works with a ton of millennials, and we can set you up on a retainer. Think of it like a subscription fee where you pay us a monthly fee and we can help you put together a financial plan. Financial planning is not a one-time exercise, and it takes hours upon hours of continuous effort and work to get it right. And so if you are a do-it-yourselfer and you're watching this and you're in 20s and 30s or 40 years old, that's great. And if you want to allocate hours of your month, year, day, whatever that needs to do your financial planning for you and your family, more power to you. I get it. I do it for a living. But if you don't want to do that, or you don't have the knowledge, then I encourage you to work with a fiduciary-minded advisor. And all that means is a fiduciary is someone that's legally obligated to only act in your best interest, someone that's fee-based, like us, meaning we're not going to charge you a commission or try to sell you a product. I'm not going to pitch you some insurance or a mutual fund and charge you a big commission. I think that's wrong. So you can pay us a subscription, work with James Lewis. He'll be there for you. He's a certified financial planner. Corey and I are chartered retirement planning counselors, so we can in there and set up a plan. Okay, so that's probably piece number 2, is that if you're young and watching this and you don't want to spend the time to do financial planning for you, if you're single or you and your family, then hire somebody, right? But just make sure you're working with a fiduciary advisor who has a fee-based approach and is going to be able to help you, okay? So 1, save early, save often. 2, if you want to hire an advisor, encourage you to do it with a fiduciary-minded advisor. And then the third tip I have for the early financial planning and retirement is what I found is very beneficial is to automate as much as you can. And by the way, some of these strategies could work with anybody, right? But I want you to automate as much as you can, meaning set up automatic contributions to go into your 401k, or set up an automatic contribution to go in your Roth IRA. Do automatic bill pay, right? Automate as much as you possibly can, because that way you can go and focus on your career and spend time building a career and building more income. And you don't want to be that person that looks back and like, oh yeah, I never set up that automatic contribution, so now I don't have any money in my Roth IRA. Or now I didn't, I never turned on my 401k, or I never looked at the investments, or I never engaged with a financial advisor to help me get that stuff set up, right? The more you can automate, the better. We're all going to go back down to our default mindset, right? Or default whatever. And if you don't have an active interest in financial planning, you're probably not going to do it. That's a reality. And lucky for us, we do have an active interest in it. We do enjoy it, and we do those things. So those are my 3 tips. Save early and often if you're starting out for retirement planning. I encourage you to work with a financial advisor if you're not going to spend hours, a year dedicated to financial planning, and then automate as much as you can. Set it up, spend some time on the front end, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, getting things set up, automatic bill pay, automatic savings, whatever you can automate, the better. Then you don't have to worry about always being on top of it. Okay, good. So that's for our younger audience. Now for most of our audience, most of our clients are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and they're either getting very close to retirement or planning to hit in that retirement sweet spot where they're 5 or 10 years away. Well, what should these people be doing? Well, I think it's very important to look at a financial plan regularly, probably at least once a year, if not twice a year, and to update it. And this is very important, that a financial plan is not a roadmap. It is not set in stone. It is a living, breathing document. And as you get closer to retirement, you're going to want to go over it with a fine-tooth comb and say, is $10,000 a month a really good spending budget for us? Are we really spending that? Or are we kidding ourselves, right? Do I have credit card debt, and why am I still doing that, right? Do I not have enough in a 401k, a health savings account, a Roth IRA, a donor advised fund? How are my accounts set up to help fund my retirement? All these aspects are very important. And again, if you're doing it on your own, more props to you. It's a full-time job though, I'll tell you. And again, that's what we do at Falcon Wealth Advisors for our clients. So tip number 1, as you're approaching retirement, is you definitely want to stay on top of that financial plan, and you want to review it often. And if you're working with a financial advisor, I encourage you to meet with that financial advisor at least a couple times a year leading up to retirement. For many of our clients, the year that they retire, we'll meet with them 3 or 4 times just to make sure we've got a plan for Social Security. When are we going to turn that on? What's their 401k look like? Do they have a Roth IRA? Do they have a health savings account? Do they have charitable needs? Is all that set up? Right? We want to make sure all that's built into the plan and set up to transition into retirement very smoothly and have a focus of where are they going to pull money from when that paycheck stops. All right, number 2, this is a little bit in the investments, but you want to also review your asset allocation. I see it, not a lot, but I do see it, new clients coming in where they may be far too aggressive or far too conservative. So you want to double check that asset allocation. You want to make sure that it's set up to not only generate income and retirement and grow, but also to preserve your capital. And that's, again, one of the things that we do at Falcon Wealth Advisors for our clients. We're going to make sure that that's set up. One piece that we use is we don't like to have anything in the stock market that you're going to need to live off of in the next 5 years at a minimum, and the next 10 years, ideally. So somewhere in that 5 to 10 year range. So if you're going to pull $100,000 a year out of your retirement, we want to make sure we have 500,000 not in stocks. And typically we'll use bonds or preferred stock or cash or other instruments to earn you some return, but we're not going to put that in outright common stock, right? So we want to make sure, and again, this isn't advice. Everybody's plan is a little bit different. But that's some of the things or the exercises that we go through with our clients as they are approaching retirement. Okay, so number one, you want to go over that financial plan with a fine-tooth comb. Hopefully you're working with a fiduciary advisor who, again, is not charging you commissions. And then two, you want to double check your asset allocation to make sure that your investments are set up to make this transition into retirement smooth. You don't want to have to worry about the market crashing and then saying, well, oh no, Jake, I can't retire because I had too much in stocks. You don't want to go through that. That's not a good situation to go through. And then three, just make sure, and this is probably the most important thing, believe it or not. And again, I'm a finance guy, but make sure you understand or have some sort of concept of what that new purpose is. And this is especially important for males, not to pick on the guys here, but a lot of men, me included probably, find a lot of their value or self-worth in their job, right? They wake up, they go and do what they enjoy doing. They have meaning there. They're surrounded by community. Sometimes people depend on them if you're the boss, right? Whatever it is, you find a lot of meaning in what you do, and that is going to stop, right? And that can be a very scary thing. And this could be female or male, but you have to understand, okay, today my purpose is to wake up at 6 or 7 o'clock, go to work, and this is what I'm doing. This is a purpose for the company. When I retire, what is my purpose going to be, right? What am I going to wake up at 6 or 7 o'clock to do? How am I going to positively impact the world and humanity and my family and whatever that is? I can't tell you because every single client, which is awesome, part of my job is different of what their purpose is, but you better at least think about it, because you could, if you go from this is my corporate purpose to I have no idea what my purpose is, that can cause a lot of anxiety and frustration. And retirement is supposed to be a happy time of a transition of doing something on somebody else's agenda and now doing something on your own agenda. But we just want to make sure that you have thought about that. And if you need help with that, I can certainly talk to you about it. Corey can. Again, we're chartered retirement planning counselors. We've actually engaged with a life coach also. She specializes in retirement planning, which is pretty cool for a life coach to do that. Again, I'm not endorsing her, but we know other partners out there that we could at least kick the tires on it and help you if you're struggling with what is my purpose going to be when I leave corporate America or my 9-to-5 job. What is my personal purpose going to be? Okay, good. So, all right. So you transition. So the third piece is you transition into retirement. Well, it doesn't just stop there. You don't just say, okay, Jake, I've got $2 million. I'm retired. You say I have plenty of money in bonds and cash. See you later. Financial planning is done. It's not done. And it's good for me. It's job security for me. But the most important thing as you enter into retirement, so for all my clients that are retired, we want to check cash flow. I think cash flow is very important, and we want to make sure that not only are the investments set up to generate the income that you need, but is your lifestyle changing where maybe you want to spend more in those early years and drop that back down and spend less in your later years. Or maybe you don't want to spend very much in the early years. I mean, right now, I'm looking outside. It's snowing in Kansas City today. There's a pandemic. I don't have a lot of clients traveling. I don't have a lot of clients, even though we've budgeted in that travel budget, they're not doing it. So do you want to do home improvement projects, or do you want to just bank it and roll it over for another year? Right? That's all part of the planning process. And this is this ongoing dialogue that we have with our clients to make sure that their cash flow is still sustainable over a 30-year, hopefully plus time horizon, and see what has changed in their financial plan. And now that they have this new purpose figured out, do we need to adjust the plan accordingly? All right, so tip number one for the financial planning for the retiree is to stay on top of your cash flow and make sure you understand that the money that your account is generating, that it's funding your purpose and that everything is lined up. And it's okay if it changes. We just need to adjust and change accordingly. Right? You're no longer in savings mode, which is very scary for a lot of my clients. So number two is to understand that for 30 or 40 years during your career, hopefully you saved and you're used to doing that. You don't necessarily have to do that anymore, but you have to make sure that the nest egg is there and your financial plan is set up to be able to cover any emergencies. And there's some things that you can do to protect yourself from those emergencies, right? Like having proper health insurance, right? You certainly don't want to have something catastrophic happen to you health-wise and you need a surgery or something and not have appropriate health insurance, right? Also, property and casualty insurance, right? You want to make sure your car insurance is set up and you have homeowners insurance if that's, important to you. So just making sure everything's set up so that you don't have something come out of left field and you're not prepared to cover it, right? So again, that's what proper planning, long-term care. Again, I'm not a huge fan of long-term care insurance. It's very expensive. And I feel like the insurance carriers change the rules and they start jacking up the premiums as you get older. I don't know, I get it. They're trying to make money, but that doesn't help the retiree any. But maybe we have we carve out a piece of your financial plan saying, hey, Jake, in case I've got to go live in a long-term care facility, let's make sure I can afford rent, right? Or maybe I'll sell my house and that'll cover it, right? But at least we have a plan set up for that. Okay, so it's looking at those things and making sure you've got cash flow and that your plan is properly set up to cover some of these unforeseen events, right? And then the third thing is just to enjoy the present moment. Don't get too caught up in the future or the past. Stay present, enjoy retirement, enjoy your new purpose. I love hearing about stories of clients volunteering, reading more. A lot of clients are exercising, which is awesome, eating healthier, right? All the things that maybe we wanted to do while we were in our careers and we kind of let go. Clients starting up new businesses, all kinds of things out there, which I love hearing about. So go do that. Enjoy your life. You've worked hard for this moment. Enjoy it. Have some peace and enjoy the present moment and spend time with your family, your kids or grandkids or whatever's important to you. And just know, here, your friends at Falcon Wealth Advisors, we've got you covered. We're going to review your financial plan, double check your asset allocation, and we're going to make sure if anything comes out of left field that we've got a plan to protect you for that. Okay, so good. So that's all the time that I do have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. If you do like our show, I do encourage you to subscribe here. We'll put the subscribe button up top here so you don't miss another show of Upticks. If you like this show, please also, if you want to mash that thumbs up button, I think there's some algorithm in YouTube or on the podcast platforms that if you give me a thumbs up, more people will see it. And if more people see this, hopefully my team and myself at Falcon Wealth Advisors, we can help more people like you. Also, I'm out there on various social media platforms. So I'm always looking to expand my network. So if you're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn, please feel free, send me a friend request. I'd love to expand my network. My team at Falcon Wealth Advisors, we're also out there on those social media platforms. So we're out there on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter if you want to follow our team. Quick plug to Corey Bittner. He's got his own podcast and YouTube show right here on our channel called In the Money Insights. So if you want more organic content from Falcon Wealth Advisors, be sure to tune into Corey's show as well. And as far as fun topics, I don't have a lot for you today. It's not golf season anymore. It's snowing in Kansas City. I do have a net set up in my garage. I need to probably use that more. I've got a putting green in my house. So maybe it'll be time for some off-season golf training. Spending time with our favorite Pooch Einstein. He's a lot of fun. He's got a great personality. We're getting close on our home renovation project. We put library shelving in our great room and some paneling up. So I'm excited to share those photos with you when they're done. But like I said in the beginning, I hope all of you out there are staying safe and healthy. Thank you again so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a great week.